Good evening. Welcome to the regular City Council meeting of January 13th, 2014. Our first order of business, I'll ask everybody to please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Will be led by Kaiden Bailey from Scout Troop 148.
Please recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Our next item is citizens' comments. This is a chance for citizens to address the council on agenda items or other items they wish to bring to the attention of the council. Citizens are encouraged to discuss operational issues in advance with the city manager. And in consideration of others, we just ask that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes. We have any citizen comments tonight? Well, seeing no takers, guess we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there any items council wishes to remove to the active agenda? Okay. Have a motion to read the consent agenda?
Motion to read.
Second. Motion's been read and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Approving the meeting minutes of the December 9th, 2013 regular council meeting. Accepting the minutes of the December 11th, 2013 Area of City Impact Committee, November 7th, 2013 Historic Preservation Commission, and the November 13th, 2013 Youth Advisory Commission. Approving the bid award for the ambulance remount to Aero Manufacturing Incorporated of Rock Rapids, Iowa, in the amount of $134,936. And approving the vouchers payable for November 22nd, 2013 through December 5th, 2013 in the amount of $829,033.94.
Councilors, the consent agenda has been read. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, next item of business would be our active agenda. This will be the third reading and potential adoption of Ordinance 4604, implementing the council's decision in Zone Change 01-13, declaring that certain real property would be removed from the R2A low-density residential zone and included in the C4 general commercial zone. Mr. Bennett, I want to introduce this. We have some new councilors here.
Council. This is a zone change application that was considered, obviously, prior to the current council taking their positions on the dais here. It does indeed, rezone a parcel of property from R2A, low density, and it's included in the C4 general commercial zone. This is the third reading and adoption. It's been read twice before. In this particular case, what we would do is have the third reading, and then if the council is so inclined to adopt the ordinance, then we would have a roll call vote in order to take note of the vote on the particular ordinance issue.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Bennett? We have a motion to approve the third reading and adoption of Ordinance 4604.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded.
Approving the third reading of Ordinance 4604 by title only, suspending the rules. An ordinance implementing the City Council's decision in ZC 01-13, declaring that certain real property be removed from the low-density residential zone, R2A, and included in the general commercial zone, C4, amending the official zoning map of the City of Lewiston and providing an effective date.
Okay, Ordinance 4604 has been read for the third time. I'll entertain a motion to approve Ordinance 4604.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. So do we do a roll call vote now?
Correct.
Okay, you want to start at the end, or do we all
Counselor
just
Mal-
vote?
Yes. Roll call vote. Counselor Maldonado.
Aye, yes.
Counselor Blakey.
Aye.
Counselor Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Counselor Daniel.
Yes.
Counselor Collins.
Aye.
And Counselor Randall.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next item on the active agenda, we have council appointments to boards, agencies, commissions. These are, we have a variety of different commissions in the city, and typically we have a counselor acts as a liaison to these boards and commissions, and we had a pretty open slate since we have 4 new members on the council, but we discussed just a little bit here, and I don't know, do we want to go through all these here, Carrie, or for appointment? Do we need to vote on them, or do we just,
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I think what you can do and ask for, go committee by committee and see if anybody wants to volunteer, and if that's
Okay.
acceptable to everybody else, and you can fill the position. I don't know that you have to vote on them.
okay. Well, first up was the Airport Authority, Councilor Randall. The Association of Idaho Cities, that was one we didn't talk about.
Now, in this particular case,
A letter of interest needs to be.
right. There's no reserved seat per se on the actual board or on the various committees and commissions that they have appointed on legislation and other finances and things like that. But if a council member is interested, then we would submit a letter of interest to Ken Harward, who is the executive director of AIC, and then they would work that into the mix in the coming year, because we're going to be having our meeting down there starting at the end of January with AIC, so this is a good time to address that. And they will generally try and accommodate, the city's interest. Councilor Ortman was on one of the boards down there for many years on the board, and so.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would throw my hat in the ring unless somebody else has a burning desire. In the event that I wasn't able to attend, is there a provision to have another representative from the council?
I think you can ask anybody who wants to attend. I mean, those meetings are open. So if anybody wants to take your place, or if you call somebody and say, I can't make it, would you go? And if they're amenable, I don't think that's a problem. It's
Okay.
it's a kind of a liaison between us and the Idaho Association, or the Association of Idaho Cities, so.
There's generally
It's
two
not a
meetings
formal
year.
voting member, kind of.
One is in January, one is in June. And the one in June is the main AIC conference. The one in January is the opportunity for legislators to get together with elected officials from their communities to, prior to the start or during the beginning of the legislative session, to talk about local issues.
Okay. Okay, we okay with that? Audit Committee? Counselor Daniel? You've already been on there.
I think Counselor Randall's on there as well.
Okay.
This is not an official city commission or board, but it is established by resolution of the council, and the audit committee does review the financial documents of the city on an annual basis, and you'll be seeing their report coming out pretty soon. They're going to be meeting in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. And then the CETA appointment, Counselor Randall. Code Board of Appeals. That was another one I didn't have on here. I guess.
The Code Board of Appeals only meets as needed.
Correct.
If an issue comes up or a complaint's received regarding the interpretation of a section of the code. The Code Board of Appeals is the final authority on that issue, so it isn't something that would come back before the city council unless you were going to consider a change to an ordinance or something like that. So typically there hasn't been a specific council liaison for that because they only meet infrequently, but you can do that.
Well, do we need, if a meeting comes up, then we'll find somebody that would like to attend? And
I think you could do that, yeah.
okay. And next on the board would be the Emergency Communication Joint Powers Board.
Very good.
Counselor Daniel?
This is also known as the E911 board.
Yeah. Emergency Medical Services Advisory Board.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah. Counselor Collins? Along with the Historic Preservation Advisory Commission?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Library Board. Counselor Maldonado. And then the MPO.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Now, this actually is for two positions.
We need two.
We need preferably two.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd be interested in that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that was Councilor Collins?
Yep. Parks and Recreation Commission.
I'll take it.
Counselor Daniel. P&Z, there really isn't a position for that, but I've been kind of the liaison, so
Right.
I just have my name down there. The Police Retirement Fund Board, that is in the entire council, and in fact, we have a meeting, just to remind everybody, on the 15th at 4 p.m., which is Wednesday. Correct? The SWAC, Solid Waste Advisory Commission. Councilor Randall, continue there.
Yep.
And the TAC, Transportation
Mr.
Advisory?
Mayor?
Okay. And then I would like to continue with the Urban Forestry and Cemetery Advisory Commission. If that's acceptable. Urban Renewal Agency,
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Blakey. And then Valley Vision, we just kind of discussed this. I think, and if Councilor Randall wasn't able to attend, I could attend. And then the Youth Advisory Commission
Mr. Mayor?
would go to our youngest member. And then Police Retirement Finance Committee. Now, Dan, that was one you had mentioned. I'm sorry, Mr. Marsh, that wasn't on this list.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it's a committee based, so it's more for the benefit of staff and as the liaison. And we meet approximately 3 to 4 times a year, to review the investments for the police retirement fund.
Okay. And I was on that at one point in time, but I haven't attended a meeting in quite some time, so. we
Mr.
have-
Mayor?
Okay. Councilor Blakey. Okay. Well, I guess we've got our marching orders for our new assignments.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I'm sorry. Did I hear MSAP?
yes.
Okay, I just missed.
Councilor Collins.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
You bet. I don't think we've missed anything else, have we?
No, sir. I think that's it.
Okay.
But we do have some defunct committees that have not had any activity in a number of years, but at some point, the council may wish to decide whether or not to bring any of those back. For example, the Disabled Persons with Disabilities Committee, like something like that, but
Which I believe they're kind of functioning underneath the TAC right now?
correct, yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see how that goes, and if they need to have their own committee, we can.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have had a request from some citizens to kind of reorganize that committee.
Okay.
So it would be overlook disabilities and human rights, that sort of thing.
And the process would be advertising for interested people to apply, or?
Correct, and I have to take a look and see. I know that the committee was basically disbanded, so it might take another ordinance to reestablish it or a resolution. So, but that's not difficult.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Well, that concludes our active agenda. On to unfinished new business. City councilor comments.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I just have a letter here that I'd like to put into the record. It's from myself, and actually Councilor Daniels actually already signed on to it. It's from myself to the Urban Renewal Agency Board of Commissioners. Dear Urban Renewal Agency Board of Commissioners, according to the City of Lewiston website, quote, regular meetings of the Urban Renewal Agency are held on the second Tuesday of the month at noon, end quote. A preponderance of citizens work Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or some variation of this shift. While a few of these same citizens may be able to attend the board's meetings on their lunch break, many are burdened by the inconvenience, or their jobs simply won't allow them to leave at this time. The awkward schedule makes it very difficult for average citizens to be involved in or even witness a process that directly affects their tax dollars. In order to encourage more transparency as well as foster greater citizen interaction and participation, I am requesting the board change the regular time of its meetings to a more reasonable time. Please consider a time that would allow the greatest number of participants in general to attend your future board meetings. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, and Councilor Daniels signed on, and I'd welcome any of the other councilors to sign on if you wish.
Okay.
I'll sign it to that.
To the meeting? You want to sign it now?
Yeah, I'll sign it now if you want
Okay.
to.
Any other city councilor comments? It's only 18 after, fellas. We got time. City manager comments tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make a note that our next council meeting will be 2 weeks from tonight, the 27th of January. And at that time, the council will be probably hearing its first substantive issue of your tenure here, and that will be to hear an appeal of a Planning and Zoning Commission decision in the matter of a development project here in Lewiston. Would note that because you will be sitting as a quasi-judicial body, that you will need to disclose any contacts that you have with parties to this action. So if you're contacted by somebody who wants to discuss it, I would encourage you to defer that until the actual public hearing. However, if you discuss that with someone, you will need to disclose that at the hearing. That's referred to as ex parte contact. So something new for you to consider, something you probably haven't dealt with before, but that will be coming to us at our next council meeting.
Okay. Sid?
Question, Mr. Manager? If a conversation took place prior to our sitting, does that have to be disclosed? Okay.
And by way of disclosure, I have had ex parte communication with one of the individuals the other day, and I was very non-committal and was polite and listened to him on the phone, just so
Mr.
everybody
Mayor, you
knows.
just need to reiterate that at the time of the public
I
hearing
will.
so everybody knows.
I'll, if I can, before we move on, that does get to be one of the touchy things. As a former member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, it's incumbent that, and actually site visits should probably be disclosed, because what you're supposed to base your opinion on at a public hearing on a zone change, conditional appeals, things like that, you're really supposed to base them on the information that's provided at the hearing, so that everybody's dealing with the same packet of information. So, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say I've been by the project, because I just live up around the corner from the project. I pass it probably on a daily, basis. So, just keep that in mind when people call. So,
Mr. Mayor, if I could, the specific site visits should not be allowed unless you're going to go as a group, and we can cite that as a public meeting and you can all go together. If you just drive by it, that happens. We're in a small community. I understand that, but technically, because you said as a quasi-judicial body, you're precluded from going to the site to take a look at it.
okay.
Everything, you should be able to get maps and drawings and everything that you need in the packet that's presented to you, and you should be able to ask questions about it. But
Okay. Okay, next item would be advisory board and commission appointments. We received a letter from Mr. Greg Follett wishing to be reinstated to the Historic Preservation Commission. Mr. Follett's been on there for quite some time. There's no objections. I would entertain a motion to reappoint Mr. Follett.
Motion to reappoint.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next one up would be for the Urban Renewal Agency.
Yes, we have received the recommendation from the Urban Renewal Agency Board of Directors. They held interviews last week for 3 candidates, Mr. Mike Lorenz, Mr. Brad Cannon, and Mr. Joe Hewlett. And following the interviews, the Urban Renewal Agency Board voted to recommend to the council that Brad Cannon be appointed to the current at-large vacancy on the Urban Renewal Agency Board.
Okay. And I believe we've all received those communications and stuff. Councilor Randall.
I'd like to make a motion to table that appointment. Reason is because one, the last vacancy for a citizen at large was filled in 4 months. The last, we knew about this in May of this last year, and it's been at least 8 months since anything was brought up to fill this, and I feel that the City Council should have the opportunity to talk to the applicants themselves before we vote on filling this position. So I'll make a motion to table this assignment or this appointment until we get a chance to talk to them.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, well, it looks like the motion will fail for lack of a second. Any other comments? Councilor Daniel.
Can I make a nomination?
You can make a nomination.
All right, I nominate Joe Hewlett.
Second.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second to nominate Joe Hewlett. Now, it's just time for discussion, or do we need to vote?
We can have more nominations if there's anybody.
What's that? I didn't bring my big, brand-new copy of Robert's Rules of Order. I thought we were going to have some discussion tonight.
Mr. Chairman, somebody's the city council, it's their appointment, so you can take nominations and then vote on them.
It's council's pleasure. You want to discuss, or you just want to vote?
Well, I'm waiting to see if there's any more nominations for it.
Do we have any other nominations?
Well, we do have a recommendation from the Urban Renewal Agency Board of Directors. So that in itself constitutes sufficient documentation for the council to take action on that recommendation, along with any other nominations that you would like to make.
Okay.
So it doesn't require a separate nomination, since it's a recommendation that comes from the URA board.
Okay. Do you have something to offer, Councilor?
Not after that comment.
Okay. Well, this is a tough one. For me, I wouldn't have any problem supporting either one of the candidates. And personally, I'm rather averse to going against the recommendations of committees. I've been there on that end before on the Planning and Zoning Commission, where we made recommendations, a 2-year process, and it got shot down. A lot of hard work. As far as the interviewing the other candidates, I think they're kind of on a time frame now, URA, where they really kind of need to get things going. We finally have a representative of the council, just got appointed tonight. And so, on the one hand, you got somebody that's been there for quite some time, since the inception. You got another guy that's bringing a fresh perspective. So that's what we're dealing with here. Yes, sir.
I take issue with the process. This position was held open for months and months and months, And to me, the perception is that we held it open with the sole intent of filling it with somebody who just last week just got off the board because he was a city councilor at the time that was assigned to the board. And to me, the perception is that we purposely held the position open for that long instead of filling it in a timely manner. I think getting getting different people involved in the URA would be a good thing, and not having the same group and the same people time after time.
Mayor?
Councilor Blakey.
Having not been on the board my first meeting, and you made a comment, perception and fact are two different things. Did the city council purposely do that? Keep it open? Or is that just a perception? Or was there actually a fact of that, since there's still members here that exist from the existing board? Was that a fact?
Mr. Mayor, thank
Mayor
you.
Pro Tem.
I think, like Councilor Daniel said, this position's been open since July. Mr. Lorenz put his application in October, and no action was taken at that time. And then you had two other appointees, or two other people apply for it. And now here we are in January, finally, 6 months later, trying to make a determination about it. I think that, there is an element of credibility here with the council. We have to look at, I agree with what you're saying, fact, but yes, Mr. Cannon, put his application in 2 days after the election, and here we are only a week or so after we're sworn in, and now we're going to affirm the URA board's decision. I mean, it's an at-large position. I understand that Mr. Cannon is now at-large, but I think we should mix it up a little bit and allow someone from the community. I think as Mr. Hewlett's resume, he's got a lot of experience here. Why not let someone else have a shot?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Blakey.
I think if we start second-guessing our committees, as you spoke earlier about, it's going to be really hard to find volunteers to want to sit on those committees if they know their selections are going to be second-guessed by the city council. The URA right now is in maybe a moment or a period of turmoil with the lawsuit. Bringing somebody who has a vested interest and knowledge and experience to the situation, I think, is more than appropriate. I did receive Mr. Hewlett's resume in the mail, in my email over the weekend, and I see a gentleman who has not lived in Lewiston very long, lived in Rosalia. I'm sure Rosalia has issues, but maybe not issues that the city of Lewiston has. I see somebody who is on his, I see Mr. Cannon's experiences bring greater depth to the issue. And I think it'd be appropriate for us to approve him.
Mr. Mayor. I think there's nothing wrong with having someone who is an outsider, who's not connected or tied into business or government here in Lewiston. Why not allow someone with some diversity in opinions to have some input rather than someone who's been on the board since 2005?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just because somebody's from outside does not mean they bring diversity or difference of opinions. They may just live outside. So I question just that comment that they're out-of-towners. In my business, the experience has always been the out-of-town talking heads always seem to know more than we do. And that's not true, but we bring out-of-town talking heads in all the time for seminars, and people flock to them.
Mayor, if I might.
Yes.
Councilor Daniel was referring to the idea that, there was a perception within the community that maybe this process took longer than it was supposed to, and that it could have been in order to sort of delay the process. I think it's important to correct that perception. The reason that the process took longer than normal was because the vacancy that we're talking about had been held for a number of years by Dr. Joy Rapp, the superintendent of schools. And although it's an at-large position, there had been a school representative who is one of the taxing agencies that is affected by the Urban Renewal Agency on the board for many years. When she retired, there was an expectation or a hope that perhaps the next superintendent would want to take over that position as well, or that another representative from the school district did. So that position was held open as the school district went through its process of selecting a new superintendent, and then for a period of time to determine whether or not a member of the school district would be interested in serving on the board. Eventually, we determined that that was not going to happen, and so we went forward with soliciting applications from the public, and that's when we received the 3 applications from Mr. Lorenz, Mr. Cannon, and Mr. Hewlett.
Okay. Counselor Daniel.
Former Counselor Cannon was on the board and on the council when he applied for the citizen at large position. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. How can you be applying for a citizen at large position when you at the time are actually a sitting city councilor and also a member of the board that you're applying to as a citizen at large? To me, it just doesn't make any sense.
Counselor Randall, did you have something to add?
Well, as far as leaving the position open because you had a superintendent of schools, their own bylaws, the urban renewal bylaws, doesn't set aside a specific slot for the school district. It only sets it for the Lewiston Council, the Nez Perce County Commissioner, the Port of Lewiston, Valley Vision, and our own services director. And so it leaves two open positions for at-large. And that doesn't mean that we set aside one just for the school district. That means at-large. So I don't think holding it open for in anticipation of a school district employee to fill a slot is appropriate.
Mr. Mayor? Go ahead.
I agree with Counselor Randall. I don't think that the school district should have a monopoly on the position. I think it's a community at large position, and it should be open to all. And I'd like to ask Mr. Bennett, which dates were, what outreach was made to the school district? On which dates were they specifically, was there any outreach done?
I did not do it personally, so perhaps, Dan, do you have anything to add on that?
No, personally, but I know interim Superintendent Donaldson was approached, and that's where part of the delay occurred with his contemplating the action or the opportunity. Part of the issue, he lives in Moscow.
Mr. Mayor?
Counselor Blakey.
Is it legally wrong for Mr. Cannon to apply to be on the URA while he was still in the council?
Mr. Mayor, members of this council, that's an interesting question. Obviously, he was not going to be on the council or the URA board by the time the appointment came up, so I don't know. I don't know exactly how to answer that question. It's I think that yeah, I'm not exactly sure how to. I don't know. I can give you a definitive answer to that. I think that there's nothing that precludes it that I'm aware of. Simply because he had knowledge that he wasn't going to be on the URA board and he wasn't going to be on the city council because his appointment was up as of the first meeting in January. So,
In your opinion, nothing precludes it?
I don't know. I think that specifically precludes him making an application for a future appointment to something. It wasn't making an application for something that was going to happen while he was sitting on the board or the city council. So,
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
I think theoretically, you can look at the date he applied was November 7th. He was still a sitting councilor until January 6th. So technically, the board could have met that next Tuesday and given him the position, and then the council could have voted on it in early December, and he could have been both at large and, chairman of the board. Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I'm not arguing that it was potentially illegal. What I'm saying is that it's wrong. He was a sitting city councilor at the time, as well as already a member of the board that he was applying to be a part of. That's not appropriate. It's wrong.
Mr. Mayor? But you've determined it's not inappropriate, it's not wrong in
She said it's
breaking
not
laws.
I don't think
Nothing
there's
was
any
wrong,
legal
nothing.
thing that precludes it, Mr. Mayor, from doing it, because it's not, he wasn't applying for a position that he was going to take while sitting on the council. So I don't know anything that legally would preclude him from simply making an application. He wasn't chosen. I mean, it wasn't something where he was going to be chosen by simply making an application.
So I
So
contend
it's a
not wrong.
speculative sort of endeavor. Anybody who makes an application is speculating that they're, one, going to get an interview, and two, they might be chosen. So there's nothing concrete about any kind of application process. That's the only reason I don't think there's any legal impediment to it.
Counselor Danley?
Under that thought process, I guess I find it convenient that we're voting on it less than a week after he happens to be somehow eligible for the position now. I'm sorry, that's too convenient that we held the position open for 6 months, and then 1 week after he becomes actually eligible for the actual position where he wouldn't be dual serving, we're voting on it. That's too convenient for me.
Well, I think it's fair to note that because of the different holiday schedules in the months of October, November, and December, the City Council only met once in each of those months. So there were limited opportunities for the council to consider the application and for the Urban Renewal Agency to complete their work on making a nomination.
Mr. Mayor?
Counselor Blakey?
I listened to the testimony here and the comments, and again, it sounds like some of the council members believe there was a secret agenda taking place during this period of time. But I believe none of the council members that were on the council at that time has said there was or is. But it sure appears that we're implying there was.
Well, I think, basically, what we need to do is we need to appoint somebody to the Urban Renewal Agency. Who's the fit? I mean, we have two qualified candidates. I can't say one's better than the other. I guess I just, like I said, go back to, I can certainly sympathize with some of the counselors talking about thinking some of this has been inappropriate. I'm not, denying it. I think it is for the amount of time that's been spent since Dr. Rapp got off to the new appointment, but whether, that's necessarily unhanded, it's just, it is what it is. Here we are tonight. It's January 13th. We need to appoint somebody as a citizen at large. So,
Make one last comment.
yes, Councilor Daniel.
I just want to add, I think Mr. Hewlett is more than qualified. I think he brings a fresh perspective to it. I don't care how long he's been living in Lewiston. He's here now. He's one of our citizens, and so I don't give him less credit because he's lived here a shorter time than Mr. Lorenz or Mr. Cannon. He's here now. He's one of our citizens. As far as I'm concerned, he's just as equal to any one of them.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I'd like to kind of reemphasize Bob's premise that at some point in time, we have to trust the committees that are bringing us our recommendations. And I read through Mr. Hewlett's stuff, and it was very impressive. I was impressed by it. But if we're going to question every recommendation that comes from every committee from the community, we're going to do this every time, and why even have those committees make recommendations if we're going to go ahead and override their decisions at this point in time? If it's a discussion that we want to go back and say, we want you to reconsider, I would be okay with that if they need some more time to do that. If it's a decision we need to make now, then we need to make that decision now, but I'm going to be on the side of trying to probably trust that committee and the recommendation that they made.
Thank you. Councilor Daniel.
But those committees are just advisory. That's why they're a committee. They're not the council. That's why the final decision is made by the council, not the committee. I'm not second guessing every decision that every committee makes. I'm saying in this particular instance, I disagree.
I think put it to a vote is
Okay.
your next step.
Well, we had I guess we can put it to a vote. Roll call, or what would be convenient?
Yeah, that's up to you if you want to do roll call, Mr. Mayor, but I think you just simply, you have two candidates and you have to call one name and then the other, or call one name and see what the vote is.
Okay. Well, we'll call the vote unless there's more discussion. Okay. Those in favor of appointing Brad Cannon to the URA board, please say aye.
Aye.
Show of hands. Okay. Those in favor of appointing Joe Hewlett?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Joe Hewlett will have the appointment. Any more advisory board and commission appointments? Counselor Daniel.
Though I'm no longer the liaison for TAC, one of the members is, his term is coming up in March, and he's not seeking reappointment, so we do have an opening in TAC. So if you're interested in the Transportation Advisory Commission, please contact the city clerk to find out more information.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we also have two openings in the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, so.
Okay. Again, anybody interested in appointments to these commissions, please contact the city clerk. Next item, work session and agenda topics. Do we have any work session?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Maybe we should need to talk about the process of appointments. Talk about the process of appointments and maybe set up something where we actually come up with a ordinance or that we can live with.
Okay. Any others? Yes.
Mine's in
Councilor
regards to these advisory board and commission appointments. I'd like to at least have a work session, maybe discuss whether or not we should be automatically reappointing people, or should we actually have to put it out for an application each time? I'm not for one or the other, but I have been asked in the past, why don't we put, when there's an opening that's coming up or a term that's coming up for reappointment, do we automatically just reappoint the person like we did for Mr. Follett, or do we at least put it out for application to give other people an opportunity?
Mr. Mayor, we can include that in my process of appointments.
Yeah.
I think we'll.
No, that'd be
part
fine,
of the
and I think,
conversation.
Carrie, is our rosters pretty much up to date right now?
Yes, they're current.
Okay. Maybe we could have that in our packet next time.
The rosters?
Yeah,
Sure.
the rosters with expiration dates and stuff like that. Okay, anything else? Well then, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.